Hi, my name is Saint, and my pronouns are he and him. They and them are also okay. I identify as both transmasculine and non binary, and that informs a lot of how I move through the world.
I'm Lando Jatem. My pronouns are he, him, sometimes they, them. I identify as transmasculine. That's pretty much it. I'm just who I am as the day goes by, per se.
Yeah.
How does being transmasculine affect your healthcare needs?
My healthcare needs are, well, it affects it a lot because by nature of being transmasculine, there is an expectation that I have a certain kind of body that does certain things, which is that I have a body that was assigned female at birth, which comes with a lot of expectations like pregnancy and reproduction, as well as when it comes to things like birth control choices. I find that not only it affects my healthcare needs by limiting the healthcare I can get because I can't go every doctor. I can't then tell them I can't be open about every doctor, and also as a queer person in other ways in a sexuality way I can't be open with every doctor about the way I live my life in a sexual way. So when I go to the doctor and they ask me something like, oh, is there any chance I'm pregnant? I'm like, no, definitely not. And they're like, oh, are you abstinent? I'm like, no, but there's still no chance I'm pregnant. And then I've had doctors ask me what I mean by that, and then it gets very awkward for everybody involved when I have to go, well, I don't have the kind of sex you can get pregnant from. Yeah, so it gets, it puts me on the spot, and the doctors also put on the spot, but I'm the one having to be vulnerable about my business. And also, like, regarding testosterone, that affects all of your gynecology so much because then you need a doctor that's aware of what hormone replacement therapy does to your body, but you also need a doctor that does like regular gynecology to tell you what's the matter. And it gets it affects my healthcare needs in the sense that I have to consider so much more than the average cis woman that goes to the doctor, especially in like a reproductive healthcare sense, especially when it comes to reproductive disorders. How does being transmasculine affect your healthcare needs?
It affects my needs in a very bad way because the healthcare system that we have here, I try my very best not to go to the doctor. I try to self-medicate, do home remedies, because just going there and how they're going to treat you in the sense of what you're going to tell them about you, how you look, and how they're going to assault me in finding out what's the issue. I rather to just find something at home or bear the pain, because you telling them that you're having a pain in your anal, it's going to bring a strange conversation,
especially because of how you look. They're going to assume a lot of things.
Like, why is that something that you are facing as quote unquote a female, and you explaining to them that this is who I am and this is how I present. It's going to become a story of, by the time you leave that health facility, you see 1,000 persons outside looking at, oh, that's the person that they were saying. So for me, it affects me because sometimes I'm sick and I don't really know what's happening because I don't go to the doctor. I just bear it out, and hopefully the painkillers or whatever I take shun the pain till another few months' time. So it's a bad thing for me. Is there enough accessibility information about transmasculine health for you?
Absolutely not. There isn't even enough information about transmasculinity in general. Like when you bring up transgender identity, people assume you're talking about trans women, like every single time, and that's dangerous in its own ways. Like for trans women, being very hypervisible opens them up to a lot of danger. But in the same way, I think for transmasc people, not being visible at all opens you up to a lot of danger, and then nobody hears about it because not only are things very hard, not only are you experiencing transphobia in a healthcare sense, but after that, there's this assumption that when you are transmasculine and you transition and you present in a masculine way, that you are not facing danger. Because the idea is that, oh yeah, people see you as a man, so you're not going to experience it. But that's not true because both transmasculine people and like masculine lesbians know that you are not presenting masculine does not mean people treat you the same way they treat cisgender men at all, not even remotely. So I find that information about transmasculine health is I just think our healthcare system information is terrible regardless, even for cis people. So there definitely is not enough information about accessible like transgender healthcare or what you should even be doing if you see a trans patient of any kind, and it's dangerous. Like people are getting sick and staying sick because they're not going to the doctor, or because when you do go to the doctor doesn't know how to adjust that treatment for like to account for like testosterone or anything like that. It's very taxing.
So I don't in general there isn't enough information regarding the queer community any at all when it comes on to doctors here, and especially for trans masculine persons. Yes, they kind of frame it a lot around the trans woman. It's more easier for a doctor to know how to deal with a trans woman than a trans man, and it's sad to say that it's kind of geared because of us, the community, in a sense, the trans woman, and it's a bad thing on a trans man part, because the trans woman will quicker to go to a doctor and try to find out what's happening to her, because she doesn't care. She'd rather to be healthy than to suffer. But as a trans man, I think maybe it's a masculine thing, but we're like, hey, figure out this, don't go here. So because of the embarrassment and just the body shame that you're gonna feel, it goes back to we ourselves maybe sometimes need to find a way. I am somewhat tired of educating a doctor on how to treat me
because
as a person that comes
if
there.
your appointment is an hour long, you have to spend 45 minutes.
I give him and honestly it's unbearable sometimes. You just want to go through and get it over with and done. And because you do have doctors that somewhat know about it, but they're also ashamed of saying, oh, I care for trans people, so you can come to my health facility. If them know somebody will know somebody that is trans,
they will preach them and tell them,
you can say, you can send your friend come, but it's not a thing where them announce to everybody. So it's a shame for them as much as it's a shame for us sometimes to go in the spaces, and it's because of lack of education, in the sense of they don't understand what they're dealing with.
Yeah. What has it been like for you navigating the healthcare system?
For the amount of years I've been going to doctor, I can say I've had maybe 2 good experience visiting an health facility that wasn't per se my private doctor. And I think it was a case of, because this person was not a Jamaican doctor, he was just in the facility from somewhere else, and he already knew what it was like to deal with persons that are of trans experience or trans presenting. So it was somewhat easy, but it was also hard, because his first question was to me, like, how do you be trans in this country that you live in? And I was like, well, it's who I am, so I have to try and do what I have to do. And the doctor literally said to me, I'm sorry for your pain, because I had something was happening to my toe, and believe you me, it took me 2 weeks before I went to the doctor about my toe. And the moment I went to the doctor said to me, if I'd take another day, I would lose my toe, because I was there trying to figure it out on my own and know what was happening.
Because they're avoiding.
I'm avoiding going into their spaces, just not to have to say, don't say this when you're calling my name, don't. Just navigate it this way, or telling them that this is the name on my health card, but I would really appreciate if you say Lando when you're calling. Why me need for call it and that depend the health card, but this
name,
is your and it's very annoying, and it brings you back to a place of mental health breaking down for a person who try to build themselves in the frame that this is where everybody knows me as. And this is who I'm comfortable for you to educate me, to tell me what me must name.
No, truly. And then it becomes, you have to do the emotional labor of going, all right, when you stand up outside of the clinic and you're like, okay, when I go in here, they're either going to misgender me, or dead name me, or both, or and for me to get them to not do that, they're going to have to. I'm gonna have to take on the bulk of the work here. I have to go in there, go do like transgender 101 every single time.
And half the time they purposefully misgender you.
Yeah, like for spite.
Purposefully just to see your reaction, because I think they find it fun to see how we squirm and try to defend ourselves in their spaces, because at this point,
And it's
as
what you need.
they have the upper hand in the situation.
Yeah, for me, seeking healthcare has driven me to both avoid healthcare, like you said, and to find like other things. I've ended up, I've gotten medication for things I'm dealing with, both mental health things and otherwise, from other people who had similar conditions and like had leftover medication just to avoid going to the doctor. Like even if it's like prescription medication, it don't over the counter, it's something you'd have to get prescribed and take for like a certain amount of days, and you have to just take however much your friend has left, because going to the doctor, going to the pharmacy, having to use your legal name anywhere is just so taxing. And they're going to stare at you, or they're going to make a snide comment, and you're like, you know what, if a 5 you have left, give me the 5 or me take it, yeah. And it's also like you also have to, I guess, to a point where you have to turn like inwards, like you have to find like community help. So like, for example, at We Change, when it comes to like knowing doctors that do certain procedures, yeah, when it comes to knowing a doctor that will help you to get a certain medication or do a certain procedure that other doctors won't do. Similarly, in your own community, I've been lucky enough to find doctors that I know personally that will, you know, come to my house and go, hey, you know, I've been dealing with this, and they might write me a script. If they don't write me a script, they might say, okay, you can try this at home. Or they might even go and bring me something that they'd have to get over the counter. And I find that in that way, community aid has filled that gap for me with healthcare a lot, where I could not, like the regular system was not cutting it. What do you wish doctors knew about caring for transmasculine people?
I wish firstly that they would know exactly how to identify a person, not by saying, okay, because you look masculine, I should say to you him, or because you are just a little bit feminine but you have a little masculine edge to you, okay, I guess woman, this is a woman. I think they first need to learn that. Just go with the name they see, or point blank ask you, how do you identify? I think that would you like to be that addressed, for me is the first place in getting me to a better place if I'm sick.
Yeah, I feel similarly, because the thing about sickness and like being unwell, especially in a reproductive sense, well, for me, because I have both PCOS and endometriosis, and the idea is that these are only things that happen to women. These are women's health issues, and if you're going to the doctor for that, like, yeah. And then there's also the experience of going to somewhere like a gynecologist while you're masculine presenting, like, even if, because you know, some days you pass better than others. It definitely depends on the day, and if it's on a day where you pass a little more, they'll go, oh yeah, why are you here? And it's like, use your brain, like think about it for 2 seconds and you'd realize why I'm here. Like I'm certain I'm in the right place. Yeah, and then it's also what you said, like the idea that people make these assumptions based on how you look. And there's this assumption that, in my experience, if you identify as transmasculine, people expect you to look masculine in a certain way. People have said that to me before, and I've been like, so where was I supposed to get the money to change my entire wardrobe when I realized that I was trans? So if I should just stop wearing all the clothes I previously wore, I should just throw them out. Yeah, so then we have a tendency, especially in the healthcare system, because they'll tell you about biological sex and biological gender, whatever the hell. And we have a tendency to assume things about people when we look at their file, for example, and we see what your healthcare history is. We'll go, oh yeah, this is, you've been to a gynecologist before, you definitely have to be a woman because gynecologists only do women's health. Yeah, I think there is a baseline level of education about transgender healthcare seeking behaviors that needs to happen. Especially if you're going to do something like, especially the public healthcare system, clinics. Yep. There needs to be a complete overhaul of how we understand gender and how we treat gender in the clinic, as well as because I mean, at private doctors you can try your luck with this certain doctor, but too many people, we can't assume that all trans people have the money to go to a private doctor.
Because it's easier for you to navigate in a private space.
Yeah, you sit down and you pinch them and you pull them one side and you say X, Y, Z.
Because you're paying your money, but 90%
The
of
clinic?
the trans community can't even afford to go to the pharmacy to just
After
buy
the clinic, exactly, let alone
So
to go to
the
the
private
doctor.
doctor,
It's
yeah.
very crazy. And then you end up in a place where you, especially not only for reproductive illnesses, but for other things, being stressed makes it worse. And when I'm incurring that stress of thinking about going to the doctor and going to the doctor and having to explain myself, it compounds to a point where I'm either not going to go or I'm going to go and I won't even get to bring up everything I wanted to bring up because I just want to get out of there. I just want to wrap it up completely. Yeah, I do think that everybody, the entire system, doctors, nurses, receptionists would benefit from, I think, understanding that people aren't always what they seem, and it's not enough to make assumptions. Like, it's not just and it's not equitable to assume what people are doing or what kind of body parts they have based on what they're wearing or how they look that day. What do transmasculine people need from the medical system?
empathy. And not empathy in the sad case of sorry for somebody, but empathy in the sense that we did not choose this. This is just who we are, and this is something that we ourselves, a lot of trans persons do sometimes battle with themselves, like, why is this happening to me? What is this real
This doesn't make
case
sense. I don't know
of,
how to make it make
like,
sense.
why
Yeah.
everybody is around got what they assume that they wanted, or they're going through life with this. Why is it happening to me? So it is something that we are already battling with ourselves. So empathy from them when we go to them with our situations or illness, just to understand that we're not choosing to come here for you to giving us a pap smear and knowing that we are transmasculine and we're men, but we still have to do this because this is something at the end of the day. If I don't do this pap smear, what's going to happen down the line? Something's happening, I don't know about it. So just a simple empathy of knowing that we did not force ourselves into this.
Yeah. I feel similarly. I think transmasculine people do need empathy from the healthcare system, but I also think we need support. Like you said, some doctors will treat trans people and just not bring it up, and I think it is on them as people with the power. Like, I shouldn't have to go to every clinic and explain myself. Like, as a doctor that is in community with other doctors and nurses and you have an experience of the healthcare system that I will never have. You have a privilege of being on the inside, and I think at that point it is your responsibility to share that knowledge and to help to expand safe spaces. Like, it's not fair that every trans person has to go to the same doctor. I feel like that doctor, whoever it is, should be able to at least find 2 or 3 other doctors and go, hey, there is an underserved community here that needs healthcare and isn't getting it. And I also feel like transmasculine people need affordable healthcare. Like, we need healthcare subsidies. People need to start. I need to start do it for free. I'm so sorry. I don't need to stop going so with the little money. Like, start just, I don't know, maybe it's 1 patient a week or something. But I think trans people in general, we do not, especially in Jamaica, we do not have the resources to be seeking private healthcare every single time something's wrong with us. And that shouldn't mean we have to be misgendered or the name that the clinic, and that also shouldn't mean we have to go without healthcare. Like, at some point you must can say it with squids out. I don't think it's fair, and I don't think it's safe to be paying for healthcare.
What do people transmasculine need from their community?
Support also, because I find that even in the queer community there is this assumption that the trans people that are experiencing hardship are trans women, and transmasc people are, the idea is, oh well, it stems from this cisgender idea that it's harder to be a woman than a man, and we assume that has to translate in the same way to trans people, and it doesn't really work that way, because what we know about cis men is that the way they orient themselves around power is that they're not going to give it to anybody else, especially not trans men who they definitely see as women that are doing something they shouldn't be doing. So it gets, I think, from the wider queer community and the wider trans community, I think they have to question this idea that they have that transmasculine people are gaining something from transitioning that other trans people don't gain, because I don't think that's true. And I think it's a very harmful idea to have, because then when you have that idea that transmasculine people aren't experiencing anything hard, what happens is people shut up about their problems and they get silenced and they don't talk about their experiences, which allows people to continue to say that they don't have any, because the silence and the invisibilization kind of go hand in hand. Like, one, you're not listening to me, and two, that's making me not talk because you're not listening to me anyway. And I think transmasculine people need to be heard by their communities.
I share the same sentiments in the aspect that we do need to support each other. Sometimes it goes back to a theory of us trans men looking on the trans woman as if they have a life better than us because they're more supported. But at the same time, we as trans masculine persons don't say to somebody that would have been looking out for that trans woman that, hey, we need this too. I am in need of this, because we just go around with this whole mindset that, hey, no man, no good. Me figure it out, get it done. But not thinking that this person won't know that you need the same amount of help as a trans woman. So then we go back to, they're not experienced. You go back to trans men don't have problems. Yeah. So it's really support that we need from our community. Support in the sense of maybe because as trans masculine we are not going to be man enough to say that we need the help. Maybe our community needs to come and say, hey,
are you okay?
Are you okay? What is it that you need? Because sometimes
what are you
in closed doors we will share, and it's much better for us.
Yeah. What advice would you give to anybody who's having a hard time navigating healthcare systems as a transmasculine person?
Honestly,
find one doctor friend. Get a friend that's a doctor. Tell them to come to your house.
Honestly, for what we have here in Jamaica, I would say find a friend that you already know has a doctor friend or has a doctor place that they're going to, and see how best you can navigate yourself from there. Because if you sometimes, yes, we can try and navigate our own spaces, but it is so painful to do.
It's dangerous.
And it leads back to what will happen to you if you go into a space that somebody put on a face and say, oh yeah, it's safe for you to come here, but then when you actually reach there, it was a different case. Somebody was looking at a show, somebody was trying to pretend something, or because you have persons that encourage us trans persons to come into their spaces, and they were just making a mockery of you in a sense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So honestly, in my point of view, I would say find somebody, a friend that you already know going somewhere. It's hard for us to be all going to the same doctor, because I can imagine it's a little bit stress on the doctor, but maybe eventually that doctor will find a friend and say, hey, I have 10 patients, I can't take no more, I know say 5 more come next week. Squeeze them in for me. Them not that bad. Them want the health. Them know them for come to the space and be a certain way. So have a day where them alone come. So if you know your business for too load up, make them come on one Sunday when you know say 1 and 2 persons come there. So I think that is what it is. Find a friend.
Yeah, same. If you are not lucky enough to know a doctor, lean on your community. I would say that as a transmasculine person who is trying to figure out healthcare, you should probably ask around. Find out where the other trans men you know are getting their healthcare. Find out what doctors they're seeing. Find out who their gynecologist is. And I think in that way we can, because then at that point you don't have to trust the word of the doctor at the space to say. If you can trust somebody that has a similar experience that's been there, I would say the same, which is lean on your community and find out where people are going for healthcare. Thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you. It was good.
Yeah, thank you so much.